Hello and welcome into our Sunday evening collective week ahead card pulls. We are once again here at the June altar for the second week where we will consult the Tarot of Oneness and the Oracle of Oneness for some insight, guidance, awareness into the week ahead. We'll check in with the cosmic weather that's rolling through. We have a few aspects to share and see what is coming up for us energetically as a collective, and then of course for yourself individually as we go through the intuitive messages. If you are finding anything specifically to ping for you, or you're not sure exactly how it might be playing out for you and you would like a personal card pull this week, let me know early if you can. It is a wild week over here. It is graduation week. My 17-year-old is graduating from high school this week, and we are leaving for vacation right after. So I am very grateful for all of the exciting events and milestones and things that are unfolding, and also the to-do list is long. So I appreciate advance notice. If you would like a personal card pull this week, I'll be wrapping all of those up before I head out of town. And also the summer solstice altar. If Elena, Joy, and I are able to set the altar before we leave, we will. And I will share that with you over the coming week while I'm away. I'll still be, popping in here and there. I will definitely be coming in from the kayak. I'm very excited to be returning to the Outer Banks. I know those of you that have been with me for a while have seen some of the kayak chats that we have. I did not get to go last year, so I'm very excited to be returning to one of my happy places in the world and connecting with nature, getting grounded, and maybe bringing some guidance through that I can share with you as I move through the week. So there will be some of that. But on the other side, as we return, solstice will be upon us. So I say that because a few of you have already reserved your summer solstice readings. But if you would like one of my seasonal specials, the summer solstice, please feel free to reach out and let me know at any time. And then once the summer solstice altar is set this week or after next week, in time for solstice, I will be tuning in and beginning to roll out those readings in the order that they are booked. So please let me know if you would like one of those. Also, next week, while I'm gone, there will be a new moon in Gemini. So I will also be popping in about that and all the other things. But I'll save all of that vacation business for closer to the end of the week. Let's dive in now. I've just infused the space with the higher self connection and alignment energy so that we can settle in and connect in with our wise selves, with Team Spirit, to see what is coming forward for us for this second week of June. So we begin here with the absolutely gorgeous Tarot of Oneness. We're so enjoying the messages that have been coming forward. Last week, I tuned in for the Empowerment Pack for all the month ahead readings. And the court cards especially are just so beautiful with the spirit and the embodiment of a suit, the inspiration of a suit. So we'll see what comes forward here from the Tarot of Oneness for this week. Let's see what's kicking it all off with Monday's energy. Here we go. Speaking of spirit, Spirit of Cups, one of my favorites. Like the Queen of Cups, the Spirit of Cups, harnessing the spirit of the suit of the heart, right? Water, flow, emotion. And we see her toes dipping in there into the emotional pool here, and yet very steady and cool and calm. So we'll feel into that energy of the Spirit of Cups coming in this week as we set into a second week of June. Spirit of Cups starting us off. And then how about Tuesday for our potential block or challenge this week? Tuesday, a potential block or challenge. Ooh, the Strength card. One of the most beautiful Strength cards I've ever seen. I just love, this is Major Arcana card 8, Strength, the Leo energy, but we see her hand gently caressing the bear because it is a card that is about taming the beast within, those parts of us that come from perhaps a more primal, a more wild, a more unrefined, let's say, aspect of ourself, and yet there is something to be said about striking the balance, as we see that infinity symbol there, between the two. Because there are times where it is called for to come from a more ferocious, fierce place, and other times where we are better suited to bring it through a sense of grace and calm. So perhaps an opportunity this week to bring some of that balance in. We'll feel into that Major Arcana energy for Tuesday as a potential block or challenge. And then Wednesday is our midweek blessing. Oops, it's about that time when I start throwing cards all over because they're nice and silky. Just one, please, for Wednesday. Wednesday's midweek blessing. Midweek blessing. Ooh, I love this one. The 9 of Wands. But I just love how it's depicted here because, you know, the 9 of Wands as a blessing, right? A card that could call for some protection, some boundaries, some, you know, I love that we've got the baby sea turtles making that pilgrimage to the water, that very vulnerable march that they have to take from hatching in the sand to getting to the water's edge with predators and, you know, danger lurking about. So we'll feel into that as a blessing, our 9 of Wands. So we've got Spirit, 8 and 9 coming in so far, with card 8 for Strength, 9 for the 9 of Wands. And now we have Thursday for how are we growing? How are we growing this week, this month, this season? What's coming in here for Thursday? Ooh, the embodiment of cups. See, I said spirit and embodiment, and there we go. These two go together beautifully. Spirit and embodiment, the queen and the king. So these are the two top dogs of the suit of the cups, the suit of love, of emotion, of the heart, of feels, of flow. So really potent that we have the spirit setting the tone and then the embodiment of that suit as what we're growing into and towards, right? So water, water, and these guys making their sojourn to the water's edge and then into the water. So let's see what Friday will bring in terms of wrapping up the week. What's coming in here for Friday? Oh, wow. Look how gorgeous that is. And what did we say? Where did we start? Well, we started with the higher self. And would you look at that? Higher self. So this is one of the special cards in this deck. There's a few custom cards outside of the 78 traditional tarot cards. So this is going to give us a beautiful message that we'll tune into. I think we got oneness last week, didn't we? Look at that. Look at that long shadow in that spiral, rainbow spiral. Gorgeous. Nail's got the matchy-matchy memo and everything. So, wow. I'm going to be sharing my aura photo this week. I've been teasing it last Sunday. I had it done for the first time in 5 years. And some really cool stuff came forward that aligns with a story I shared in the past when I was attuned to Archangel Metatron's energy and how intentionally using the aura sprays and what I was calling in affected my aura in a really cool way. And that has once again occurred last week. So I'm weaving a little something together to share this week, and that's giving me all those feels. So feels very aligned with what I know I'm planning to tap into and share this week as well. We've got one more card we're going to pull from the Oracle of Oneness now to bring in a little bonus message, a little punctuation mark on the week. Coming from the Oracle of Oneness. Last week we got Express Yourself. what's coming up this week for our collective guidance? There we go. Ooh, wow. One step at a time, card 63. And I have to say, I'm getting a similar vibe here, you know, because it really is like these stepping stones, these stages in the walk, in the journey, one step at a time. And it's like, you know, having the faith, the trust, the knowing that we have the template inside, the path to go, and that we will in fact get there safely, blessing, and this card, which feels, again, very aligned there. So we will explore that as our finishing touch for the week. But first, let's get into a little astrological weather for this week, see what's coming in energetically from the cosmos, and we will take it from there. All right, let's get into some energetic weather for this week ahead. We're going to start with June 9th through the 10th. Venus conjunct Jupiter. So Venus, the planet of love, relationships, and money, will align with Jupiter, the planet of expansion. This sacred alignment happens here in the sign of Cancer, and it's a beautiful opportunity to expand our relationships and income. So use the gentle and positive vibrations of this alignment to connect with loved ones, deepen your commitment, and to attract abundance into your life. It's a great cosmic combination for creative pursuits as well. So that is going to be Tuesday, Wednesday this week, 9th through the 10th, Venus conjunct Jupiter. Then June 13th, which is taking us into the weekend. So I just had a couple of aspects to share. And, you know, with me departing on the 13th, I'm going to share with you both the Saturday and Sunday guidance, as I'm not sure, you know, while I'm away, when I will be able to get in for the following week. So Saturday, June 13th, Venus in Leo. So Venus moves into fiery Leo, which is helping us to let our hair down, to shine bright for the world to see. In Leo, Venus helps us to express ourselves and to not shy away from the spotlight. We may feel called to wear something eye-catching or to splurge on something that makes us feel special. This is also an excellent time to update our wardrobe or change our hair. Doing something to stand out may just draw more opportunities our way. And then also next weekend, June 14th, which is going to be Sunday, that's the new moon that I spoke of. So the Gemini new moon, I know it seems like we just had a full moon last weekend, that blue moon, the final day of May. Now as I'm recording this on Sunday, June 7th, we are now 1 week out from the next major lunation, which is going to be that new moon in Gemini. So next Sunday, the Gemini new moon opens the doorway to a fresh lunar cycle where we can welcome new beginnings. And this new moon carries gentle energy and it guides us to set intentions for the months to come. So while there are no limits on the types of intentions we can set, it seems that the universe wants us to lighten up, bring in some playfulness, and have some fun. So this is a good new moon for connecting with friends, organizing social events, and sharing our story. Communication projects may come to life with greater ease, or we may find ourselves with an opportunity to write or speak on a particular topic. Now, the Gemini new moon also connects with the asteroid 𝓘𝓷𝓽𝓾𝓲𝓽𝓾, helping to bring healing vibrations our way. Now, I'm going to be diving into that new moon this week when I'm going to be recording the new moon empowerment reading for my Empowerment Pack participants, as well as anyone who would like to join us. The new moon empowerment reading is available a la carte. If you would like to join us, I will be sharing that part 1 reading with the ritual and the astrological weather and other aspects. We'll do a full spread and bring messages through there for that new moon. So that is all of the aspects taking us through a full week ahead. So let's get into it now with some of our cards and the intuitive messages from those. All right, kicking off our week with the intuitive cards, we have Spirit of Cups coming in, Queen of Cups energy, really beautiful, calming, peaceful, and really feeling very fluid here as we look at this take on the Queen of Cups as the Spirit of Cups. And so this is going to be the essence of nurturing mother energy, empathetic, sensitive, compassionate, caring, emotionally stable, going with the flow, intuitive, holding space for others, leading with your heart, and in tune with your inner guidance. So as we set the tone here for the week and we're flowing into it, Spirit of Cups, bringing in a warm, sensitive, and compassionate energy. So it says you have a deep connection to your emotions and inner self. And although very empathetic and nurturing, you've learned how to keep your own energy field grounded while holding space for others to express themselves freely. You can be trusted for impeccable guidance and support, and many feel safe confiding their troubles to you, knowing that you have the wisdom to guide them. Lead with your heart and tune into divine guidance. If something doesn't feel right, then trust that you will find the answers through meditation, your dreams, or deep introspection. If you don't feel that this depicts you right now, then pulling this card may be a suggestion to embrace this energy, or it may represent someone around you. Yes, as I say of the court cards, the people and the personalities of the tarot, the Spirit of Cups speaking to you or someone in your orbit, or perhaps an aspect that you would be best served to embody, which we were hearing, kind and compassionate and just but flowing with it and not getting too overly emotionally involved or too detached and disconnected from, so there's this energy of flow. And it speaks to some of the symbols that we see here, because we have the coral, the parrotfish, the stingray, and I was drawn to the stingray first. So the stingray, they're able to navigate darker spaces and adapt quickly to changing environments. They flow with grace through the sea and are considered wise, alert, and highly attuned. So again, some aspects to embody, some aspects to really lean into. The parrotfish are stunning fish that clean the algae off of coral, which exposes their surfaces to light, enabling the coral reefs to maintain healthy growth. And then the coral itself teaches you patience. When in a nurturing environment, it flourishes through a symbiotic relationships and exposure to light. So that parrotfish was an example of that symbiotic relationship that helps to expose the coral to light. And it also represents power coming from a strong sense of being grounded, which is also where we see the bare feet in this card, just standing at the water's edge, because it represents these colorful rocks, the water, which is emotion, and you can dip your toe in or keep them on dry, solid ground. You are in complete control. And I think that's going to speak to like our, both of these actually, our Tuesday, Wednesday energies for sure. I kind of feel like it is sort of blocked off that way, where we have the Spirit of Cups and then the two cards that follow, and then the embodiment of cups for how we're growing, which is like the upgrade, which is the next level, flanked with the higher self. So let's take a look now at these two cards as they come along so we can see where the Spirit of Cups is setting us off to. All right, Tuesday, a potential block or challenge. Interesting that I used the C word, control, when we were talking about the Spirit of Cups, because that is also a word associated with the Strength card. Major Arcana, card number 8. It speaks to self-control, courage, fortitude, calm influence, a graceful leader, compassion, animal instinct, bravery, confidence, and strength of character. So, when this is challenged, when it's out of balance, that's what can look like self-doubt, a need for self-control, fear, unworthiness, anxiety, self-destructive behavior. So it's also reminding me with that, mention of animal instinct. It's like, having an animal cornered can lash out or act out in a way. That's the part of ourselves that we're talking about bringing to heel, taming. And with that hand just caressing the face of the bear, the message comes in as a potential block or challenge this week, saying from our greatest challenges in life come fear, anxiety, self-doubt, and unworthiness. Take a moment to identify where these feelings may be coming from. And acknowledging these emotions will allow you to process and then release them to create space for strength to flow in. So let your inner power and courage guide you towards peace and balance. Inner strength doesn't come from physical force. It comes from a place deep within. It comes from a peaceful heart that is brave, compassionate, and confident. There are times when you may doubt yourself, but be assured that you have access to an infinite supply of this energy. Channel it into whatever you are experiencing in your life at the moment. And with that said, remember that using your personal power is not about asserting your will on others. Yeah, that's the reminder that true strength and power and leadership can come from a place of great quiet, just holding the energy, holding it, right? There's this energy that's being held in a way that doesn't have to be loud or showy or, specifically giving us every play-by-play, right? So there's an energy of, being that strength, embodying that strength in a way that will help to then embolden other people to stand in their power too. The grizzly bear that was chosen here is about an aspect of spirit that we can channel the bear when feeling weak or in need of strength. They ooze power and courage and help you to stay firmly grounded through difficult times. Also, the infinity symbol that I mentioned earlier, that is a nod to the traditional tarot where there's only 3 cards that you typically will see that on: the Magician, the Strength card, and the 2 of Pentacles. I believe we got that last week, by the way. It was the juggling card, right? And that was Thursday's energy for how we're growing. So this symbol is present here to remind you to focus on harmony, balance, peace, and oneness. Well, last week we got the 2 of Pentacles and we got the card of Oneness, which was another special card from the deck. So interesting that we're sort of continuing that thread of energy into this next week. So that's Tuesday for a potential blocker challenge. Let's take a look now at the midweek blessing. All right, Wednesday is our midweek blessing, and we continue down the block where it's feeling like we have a spirit of a suit, the cups, the feels, the emotions, the flow. And then we had these 2 cards, the strength card for a potential block or challenge, and now the blessing in the 9 of Wands. And there's a couple key buzzwords that also applied to the strength card. In this case, it's courage, resilience, boundaries, persistence, standing tall, doing what it takes, maintaining your focus, keep pushing, surrounding yourself with strong supporters. So, the 9 of Wands, you've just cracked open the shell that has kept you safe, warm, and protected. It's so exciting to start this new journey. But wait, danger is circling. You feel vulnerable and know that it is time to make a mad dash to safety. So yes, as I say, the mad dash of the sea turtles emerging from their shells, the safety and the warmth of their nests, to having to make that pilgrimage to the water just instinctually, right? So there's no time for rest. You must be brave and go now. It takes resilience and courage to make it to safety. Every obstacle in life makes you stronger. As daunting as it looks, you know what to do, and you know that you can do this. The finish line isn't far away. You can see it now. Oh, how welcoming the cool waves will feel as they wash over you. And having others around you will help you reach your goal, whether they are cheering you on, running with you, or watching and learning from your successes. So the seagull here is indicating that, this particular type of bird tends to represent trickery. Seagulls see things from a different perspective, forcing you to be creative and persistent in reaching your goal. And then the sea turtles here, as a sea turtle, you embrace the energies of endurance and ancient wisdom. You know what you need to do to survive. Your instincts will guide you. Yeah, so I think there's a lot of connection between the Tuesday, Wednesday energies here, because this too is very much about instinct, about impulse, about our nature, but also the learned behavior, process, way of being that is courageous and resilient and bold, and also leaning into tribe and community for those around us that can hold space for us as well. So, that's the blessing and the challenge, because, there's a personality and ego that gets in there too. And especially if it's coming from a fear-based place, then we're more likely to be a little off about things versus in that state of strong, grounded, balanced belief in ourself, faith, and trust in the journey. So it feels like there's a lot of potential this week for growth in that area, and as we look to some of the astrological weather that I shared, we really just had the one aspect, the Venus conjunct Jupiter for this week, and then the other aspects got into the weekend, but it does feel like, these opportunities to really expand in our relationships of all kinds, our relationship, not just with others, but also our relationship with going for it, our relationship with taking a chance, with stepping out, which putting ourselves in vulnerable positions where we really don't know how it's going to work out, but we believe, we trust that with every step we take with intention, we will in fact be successful, victorious, in this state of it's almost like there's this growth that's happening this week that takes us from the spirit of the cups to the embodiment of the cups, the ultimate energy in that suit. So let's take a look now at Thursday for how we are growing. All right, Thursday, how are we growing? The embodiment of cups. This is like the King of Cups in the traditional. And so it is the ultimate card in the suit of cups. And a lot of similar words coming through the cards, because this one speaks of control. We talked about self-control, taming, balancing, control, diplomacy, emotional maturity, compassion, calm and balanced. Steer clear of drama, staying true to your personal boundaries, balancing logic, emotion, and intuition. So yeah, all of the water, which is flow, which is feels, which is spirit, which is connecting us in with, and this is bringing us into a very like Piscean energy. So it's very Neptunian. It's very much like spirit and, expanding into what's possible. Daydreaming and dreaming of all kinds and things that can be a little bit more, like I say, like just kind of fluid, but not, untethered, because there is this sense, even the boat is being hung there by a ribbon, it's not out there tossing about in the waves on its own. There is this connection, this groundedness that's coming forward. So it says this beautiful crown is ready for you to place on your head and embody the energy of the suit of cups. So sitting on this throne means you have achieved mastery over your emotions and unconscious world. You navigate emotional issues with divine wisdom, giving you the powers of maturity and social responsibility. We encounter people in our lives who are deep thinkers, led by logic, And we meet people who make decisions from a purely emotional standpoint. So drawing this card means that you have found a beautiful balance between both of these things. Yeah, this is balance, equilibrium, flow between feels and the thoughts, right? The knowing. So, it's saying your approach to troubling moments is calm, rational, and balanced. So this card could represent you in that way, or another person in your life who can provide you with emotional support. It could be a mentor, coach, or a friend who can help guide you through a rough patch. So it's you or someone around you that could come around this week that is bringing in potential for growth, expansion, illumination. This is Thursday's energy. How are we growing? Now, some of the aspects that we see here include coral, flying fish, the seahorses, and the ship pendant. So I mentioned the ship pendant, and that is intended to be reminiscent of the ship that we see floating in the rough waters behind the King of Cups in the traditional Rider-Waite system. But it's referencing here your ability to remain calm, even in turbulent times, even in stormy seas, staying calm, staying the path, right? And so the coral here is teaching us patience. It flourishes in a nurturing environment, and it also represents power coming from a strong sense of being grounded. Again, so important to get grounded, to come into your body, to touch grass, to go out in nature, to take a couple intentional breaths, to put your hand on your heart and your belly. Having a practice that resonates for you to get grounded. The flying fish that we see here, which is leaping from the bottom, is the fish leaping from the sea of unpredictable emotions with complete freedom to connect to the subconscious, and also brings logic into any situation. So again, it's the two. It's, we're flowing into with spirit, but we're also bringing logic and balance. The seahorses. Seahorses enhance the energies of calmness, balance, and healing while referencing the divine masculine. So what that's about, on one hand, the seahorse, I always say, is definitely very much resilience, regenerative properties, but the masculine is speaking to the idea that the male seahorses are actually the ones who carry their babies. I just saw this the other day, that, the male seahorse has a pouch where the female places the fertilized eggs and the male carries those babies to full term, and then they leave from his pouch. Very interesting, ladies. So, there is an aspect of the masculine as well, divine masculine, coming into balance here, making some strides, some growth, some opportunity to see how things are in fact balancing and leveling out. Now, one of the things that we've been tuning into for some time, at least for this year, and of course before that, was when we hear the old world, rearing its head and getting very loud and really, parading around in that way that is old and done and no longer sustaining us, not serving us, and is in fact leaving. It can get a little noisier, kicking and screaming it goes. So that also tells me that, while we may still be aware of that going on out there around us, we may encounter those situations where we see and hear some of that more. Remember when we said coming from that primal place, from that place of just acting out and having that lower frequency, knee-jerk reaction. If we see that behavior happening on the world stage in our orbits, but how are we growing in the ability to observe that as the stormy seas, right? As the rising and falling tide that's choppy. But as for us, me in my boat, the embodiment of my emotions, the embodiment of balance and flow and feels and compassion and all of those beautiful aspects that we talked about with the Spirit of Cups, and now the embodiment of Cups, That's what's going on my boat, regardless of the situation in the environment outside of me. So I'm getting a little nod about that too. So, whether we continue to see, experience some of that turbulence on the world stage, we are growing into embodying those cups, taming those beasts within, bringing them to heal, right? Flowing into it. So let's take a look now at Friday's energy, the specialty card for the higher self. All right, Friday, pretty cool, because I had mentioned at the beginning of the card polls, I had sprayed the higher self connection and alignment energy, called that into my aura, into the space here energetically. And we get this gorgeous card, which what brings to mind, as we see the outline of the body here, my aura photo that I want to share this week in terms of a visual representation of how energy moves in and out of our auric fields, and that with intention, we can very much influence the energy that is around us in our bubble, in our space. And in fact, this is really like a duplicate message, because the 9 of Wands, which is our midweek blessing, is sometimes depicted as sort of setting that perimeter around you in terms of a boundary, a border, a space where you decide what enters and what does not. So, I kind of feel that coming in here, as well as what I was just saying about that embodiment of cups, despite what's going on outside of us. So higher self comes in at the center of this, and it's saying divine essence, inner self, soul, divine nature, Christ consciousness, spirit, cosmic self, transcendental self. So it's saying your higher self is your true nature that exists beyond fears, limiting beliefs, and ego. It is the non-material, higher vibrational version of you that knows all, including your life purpose. This card illustrates the dynamic between higher dimensional versions of you and your physical self. Your higher self is not separate from you. It is you, and you're at your purest level. So free there from judgments, prejudices, and trauma. When this channel is open, the natural flow of intuitive insight allows you to live your most fulfilling, expansive life. The first step to connecting to this version of yourself is to ask for help or guidance. Forming a regular meditation ritual will also enable you to connect. Committing to 10 minutes a day is a wonderful start. Eat healthful foods and drink lots of water. Exercise regularly and get out into nature whenever you can. Connecting with your higher self will supercharge your unconditional love for others and yourself. It will help you ease anxiety and depression and open the channels of creativity, inspired ideas, and heightened intuition. Practice affirming the following. The answers are within me. I am connected to all that is and have infinite access to love for myself and others. Wow. Well, that feels like it literally summarized all of this because, and I think I mentioned this on the Sharecast, so many readings and things last week and all the moving parts, but I was talking about how I had recently seen, it was a podcast or something where someone was talking about their temporary self, the version of them that was showing up in a particular moment, in a particular experience that they were having. And in this case, it was actually a near-death experience that they were recalling. And they mentioned the temporary self, which I think is really interesting because this was very clearly explaining our highest self, our purest essence of who we are at soul level, as compared to the myriad of versions of us, fractals of us that embody our experience here on our fool's journey. And that anything that's happening in any moment, that's the decisions that are being made, actions we're taking, all of those things are an aspect of the version of us who is in the decision-making seat at the time, which is where we're guided to bring that to heal. If there's an aspect of us that's acting out from a hurt place, an unhealed place, that we may comfort that aspect of self with love and compassion and patience and all the things that we heard mentioned there, to help to escort that part of us to a place where it is even more accessible to the higher self. And that you can do that through a regular practice of setting intention. And it doesn't have to be anything fancy, right? It talked about a short meditation, 10 minutes a day process where, and I mentioned this already, where you come into your body, you place your hands on your heart and your belly, take some deep breaths, feel your bare feet on the ground if you can, preferably outside in the earth. But, wherever and whenever you're able to come back into yourself, to get grounded, to come back into your own awareness, and to be more conscious about which version of me, which aspect of me is in the driver's seat right now when it comes to what I am seeing and perceiving and decisions I'm making in this moment, and which version of me would I like to put in the driver's seat, and very intentionally be in that moment. So I think that's something specific that can be expanded upon. Like I said, depending on, each person and what's going on for you in your microcosm to the macrocosm. You may know very well which one of these things are coming up, the court cards, whether that's you or somebody in your orbit, or aspects that you are being encouraged to embody, this sense of needing to find strength in the moments that call for courage, boldness, to release the desire to control, but in a way that also allows us to have a degree of self-control. And by that, I mean exactly what I was just saying. Imagine that you are sitting at the control board, right? You're sitting at the control board of yourself. And again, assessing which version, which self is stepping up right now that I'm experiencing a particular thought, feeling, whatever's coming up, and then, sort of taking it from there in more of an observational and detached way that's not getting overly emotional or overly worked up, but much more from a loving, comforting place, almost like we were guiding a child, teaching an aspect of ourself who doesn't know, who hasn't yet had this experience, and really exhibiting that patience, that unconditional love and compassion with our aspects of self. Okay, we've got one card left. That's going to be our Oracle of Oneness message to punctuate the week. So let's roll into that now and see what's coming up. All right, so for our final card for the week, it is the second to last card of the deck, number 63, One Step at a Time. So now 63, 6 and 3 is 12. So numerologically, we could be talking about a 12, or we reduce that even further down to 3, but it really feels like, something that we're building, maybe even collaborating on and connecting with others with the guidance here to take it one step at a time. So there's a mantra with this card that says, I move towards my goals with focus and persistence. I am calm and steady in my journey. I am empowered with every step I take. I respect where others are on their path. So it says, we've all heard the phrase, take it one step at a time. So whether we're pushing too hard or feeling stuck, slowing down allows us to be more conscious of our journey and successes. And in this interconnected universe, every thought and moment is linked to the next. Everything unfolds in its time, and each step contributes to the greater journey. Patience and awareness help us stay focused and committed. Let's consider those big, overwhelming tasks ahead of you. Do they feel daunting? Make a goal more manageable by breaking it down into smaller, realistic steps. Write them down, prioritize, and remember to include fun or rewarding activities along the way to stay motivated. This will give you a sense of purpose and help keep hope alive. Start small. What's one thing that you can do right now to move in the right direction, even if it's something tiny? Stay focused on the present, avoiding the traps of dwelling on the past or fixating on the future. Creating a plan can help manage any anxiety or procrastination that you might be facing. It will also help prevent burnout, as taking on too much at once can lead to exhaustion. Some steps may require careful thought, while others may need quick action. You may encounter obstacles, but that's part of the process. Stay open to unexpected detours and new opportunities. The further along you get toward your goal, the more momentum you will feel. Every step is an accomplishment, and each one will help build your confidence. Above all, trust that you can do it. Make your goals both realistic and exciting. Wow, well, I definitely feel this message because my to-do lists are very lengthy and exhaustive this week. So many moving parts, bittersweet moments. The kids are all finishing school. I have a graduate. We're leaving for vacation. There's a million moving parts with getting, the dog situated, the house situated, the mail called for, all those things that are all just a part of life, right? That all are actually, things that I exude a lot of gratitude for the opportunity to have somewhere to go to put my mail on hold for, and that being said, it still feels like a lot of many steps to get where we're going. And the same is true for any project that you're working on or anything in your life that you're looking to build. Even if it's like, your own personal health and wellness, starting a new routine. Maybe you're trying to change your diet or lifestyle, one step at a time, seeing little victories, little progresses, and then slowly over time, as you look back, you can see how much ground you've covered. And so again, the specifics are going to change and you just plug in, how it's showing up for you. But there is guidance here to keep the faith, to keep the confidence, to know that you have what it takes. And then from a very practical place, make lists. And I've said this before. Sometimes I'll make lists and I'll put things I've already done on them just so I can cross them off, okay? Because that feels really good to cross things off, to see how much you've actually accomplished. And again, I don't want to project my stuff onto you, but I know for myself, and procrastination is one of my sneaky peas, that sometimes getting things off the ground, getting it going is a struggle for me, so that, when I have a list and then I've done the thing, and even if I did the thing ahead of schedule, if I found myself having a moment so I can pull up that list and take a look and see what could I do in 5 minutes or less, and then do the thing, cross it off. This could be anything. If you're overdue getting your car in for an oil change, if there's, a phone call that you've been needing to make, a bill that you needed to pay, or just any type of thing that's been lingering that we may be putting off, we were avoiding, we forgot about. Lists. I'm feeling that, lining it all up one at a time and then crossing those things off, stopping, pausing to give gratitude and celebrate yourself for all that you have already accomplished. So in whatever way that might be coming up for you this week, I hope that you are doing well, stepping here into June, moving into this next week. Again, if you would like a personal card pull this week, let me know. Also, if you're interested in the summer solstice reading, please do book that so that I can map out my to-do list when I get back, so I know, and will be prepared to tune into that beautiful energy of summer solstice and then Cancer season arriving, and then we will get into those really extensive spreads. I think there's 9 or 10 cards in that reading. So it's a great way for you to check in seasonally, see what's just come to pass for you in the prior season, and then what's coming up for, in this case, the summer or fall, depending where you are in the world. I have a spread for you. So if you're interested in that, please check that out and let me know. And also, if you wanted to come along with the Empowerment Pack for the new moon empowerment reading, the new moon in Gemini happening next Sunday, the 14th. So I will leave that there. Thank you all so much. I'm sending you much love and many blessings. Have a great week.